Hello, welcome to this week's video. This week, following the very sad news of Jeff Beck dying, I thought I'd show again some of my recreations of his sounds and do a new one. So coming up in this week's video, I've done a couple of his tunes. So it's very sad that Jeff Beck has died. I was lucky enough to see him live once. It was at the Shepherd's Bush Empire, and it was I think it was a tour after the Guitar Shop album came out, and he had Jennifer Batten on rhythm guitar. And also, I was supposed to meet him. It was about 10 years ago now. A guy called John Altman, who's done everything. He did the Monty Python stuff. He did. Oh, what else has he done? He did the historical music on Titanic, and he put a band together for the, I think it was either the 100th or the 50th anniversary of Sussex University, and he put a band together, and Jeff Beck was supposed to be in the band. So I took a night off and went along to meet him, but unfortunately he went to America instead. It wasn't a complete waste of time. In fact, it was great still going, because I got to meet Paul Jones from Manfred Mann. He was there singing, and Gary Husband was on drums amongst other people, so it was still good fun. I thought I'd show again the Quad Cortex preset that I created for Because We've Ended as Lovers, and I'm going to show you that now from my previous video, how I set the preset up. And I mentioned at the end as well about how I wasn't happy with the slightly fuzzy tone I got at the end, and also I watched it back and I wasn't totally happy with the way I played it. It was a one-take job, so I've done another one-take job which is slightly better. Still not completely happy with it, but I'm going to leave it. I'm doing it on the same guitar, but I've changed the preset from what I show you on this first clip. All I didn't use the clon overdrive. I just turned the gain up on the amp to get the sound. Everything else remained the same, but I used the gain on the amp rather than the clon overdrive because I thought it made it a bit fizzy. So here's my video from a little while ago to show you again, and then I'll show you my new version of Because We've Ended as Lovers. So if we watch this video, this is what he does, obviously quite a lot later than he recorded Blow by Blow. What he does, he uses a Marshall and he rolls all the bass off because he's got tinnitus apparently, and then he controls all the tone using the tone knobs on the guitar. So here's a little clip from that with his guitar tech explaining.
Amps is a different thing really. He picks an amp for what it is he's doing, and having been a long sufferer of tinnitus, generally his first action with any amplifier is to roll the bass right off. Bass gone. And then just mixes a little bit with the mids, the presence and the treble of the amp, just kind of, and everything else is on the guitar. All of his EQ or his control over his tone is generally done from the guitar itself, which is a passive Strat. Then
there's this video, rather shaky, poor quality video, and this is around the same era as Blow by Blow. I think this is 1974, but Blow by Blow was 1975. He's using what looks like a silver-faced Princeton into maybe an Ampeg speaker cabinet. He had been using Marshall plexis before this, and you'll see he's using a Les Paul, and he's using a pick.
No, that's true. Can we take a brief look at that? How important is the size and shape? I've seen you in front of vast walls of gear.
Well, that's for large concerts, you know, where you've got to play to about 10,000 people. But this is big enough to record and do things like, you know, maybe small concert halls.
Yeah. You can get the same range of effects and tonal quality as
probably
you can
better. I mean, you know, with lots of amplifiers, you tend to spoil the delicate qualities, if there are any, in the guitar.
Some guitars use feedback. Now, I know this is caused by, depending where you stand in relation to the
it's just a continuous cycle of sound. It builds up, I suppose it builds up in your string somewhere and feeds into the pickup.
And the guitar, has it got to be quite high?
No, you can use that booster to get it lower and keep the cycle going. But
could you possibly show us?
Just hold your ears. Until I stop.
You can control that.
Yeah, you can bend the note.
Armed with the information from those two videos, this is how I've gone about setting up the preset. So the first thing I've done
I've used a Brit Plexi, so a Marshall Plexi, 50 watt normal, and as per that first video, I've rolled all the bass off, I've nudged the middle back, put the treble and the presence up. That's kind of what it sounded like, using my ears to match it. Also, in like the cab I'm going through is a Fender cab, and it's a 210. I thought it was a 212, but it's a 210, but it sounded pretty close to me. So Marshall into a Fender cab, and then I've put some compression on. That's like a 1176, I think. No, it says Legendary 87. I don't know, but that compressor works. Takes the top of the note off. Let me. I'm just going to show you it first, then I'll put it in preset mode and show you without the different elements. And then there's a nice reverb on the melody section. So I put a Lush plate on there. It always sounds more reverby in isolation, but in the track it sat quite nicely. So if I just go into stomp mode here, let's just turn off the compressor and the reverb. This is what the amp sounds like straight in. So there's a bit of grit there, and obviously I can clean it up by backing off. Then add the compressor. So let's without the compressor. With the compressor, just rounds the edges off, makes it sit in the mix better. You might not want that live, but for recording it's good. And then let's put that reverb back in. That's the plate Lush, so that sounds similar to the reverb on the record. And I've set up two scenes here. Now the first scene is this one, so this is for the melody, so I've called it melody. I played it better earlier. And then the second scene I put in was for the solo. Now I have to confess, when I listened back, I thought this was too fuzzy. What I did, I added a myth drive, which I believe is a Klon kind of model, with the gain right off, and that with the amount of gain on the amp. When I listened back, it was a little bit too fuzzy, but that was the first take, that solo at the start of the, or that version of the track at the start of the video. And I liked it, first take, and I thought I'm not going to redo it just to slightly clean up the solo sound, because I think as the solo progresses it works quite well. I probably could have backed that off slightly. But to me on the record he's got a more middly tone on the solo, which is why I added that. And also I added a different reverb. I've got a tight plate reverb, because it's quite dry, the sound in the solo. So there we are. That's how I've set the preset up.
have more Jeff Beck albums on vinyl than any other guitarist, apart from maybe, well, I had all the Van Halen albums and all the Stevie Ray Vaughan albums, all the Free albums, but you know, just guitar albums that I bought, I had about 7 of Jeff Beck's albums, I think, on vinyl. My favourite one was Wired, actually. I didn't have Blow by Blow, bizarrely, but I did have Wired, and that was my favourite. The opening track, I used to play it in my band when we were at school. We thought we were very clever doing the 7/8 bit. I haven't played it for years, but I really fancy trying to recreate the tone, so I've done that. So I'm going to show you this little clip about how I've recreated the tone on my Quad Cortex. So the preset for Lead Boots, I started off with the same preset for Because We've Ended as Lovers, which is a Marshall Brit Plexi 50 normal. I think he used 100 watt heads actually, but I've used this one. And I've whacked the gain on full, turned the bass off as per that other video, and I turned the treble and the presence up a little bit for this one. And it's the same cab, which is a 210 Fender cab. And on the record, and this was probably added afterwards in the studio, sounds like there's a kind of plate reverb with a delay on it. It's kind of a 8th note after the main note, and it's actually on one stereo side, but I didn't split it stereo, I've kind of left it mono. So what I did, I split that out and I've sent some of the signal to this little split here, and that's an analog delay, doing a 1 and a bit repeats on an 8th note, going into a lush plate, so you get that kind of delay, reverb delay, and then it goes back into the compressor, and that's it for that preset. And now I'm going to do my cover version of it to leave you with. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to have a happier video next week. Just found out that David Crosby has died as well, which another sad demise of a music legend. But I'm bringing out new videos every week, 7 PM on a Friday UK time. So please hit like, hit subscribe, and I hope to see you next week.